The next thing you want to do after you've cleaned everything is, well, put it back all together. So the way you do that is, this is a little tricky part. You actually got to take that O-ring that's attached to this right here and put it back around. Let's see. You got to loop it around and put it around the motor, which is actually attached to that piece, but who cares? The wires are going to be facing outside, so I'm going to take those wires, and this is what's really annoying about this, is how to get it right. Take that motor. I want to try to loop it around that motor, so if I can get it around that motor, it might take a couple tries, but just try to make sure there's enough room for the motor and its pulley, and just try to get around the pulley. And once you have gotten it, so as you can see I've gotten it, just stick it right here and actually hold it in there. Now what you do from here is you want to stick it back up into the catch cup. In order to do that, you align the drive shaft, and then you align the motor, and you just push up. Now it should connect, and you can hear it driving the motor and the pulleys all at the same time. So at this point, we probably want to reattach the washer that goes around that. Well, actually, we probably want to put the screws back in first, so it actually holds it in place. So put these screws back in here. In the case you actually want to take the rip drive off right here, you'd have to take this washer off and pull it off. It's pretty much the same process that goes on the top side where the drive cone is too. So just place that back in. We should probably be placing this, which is the washer, back on as well. So let's put this washer here. And a really easy way to do it is to take your pliers and just use this and push it against it, and it should lock. Probably lift it up a little bit, and there you go. Now in order to put the drive cone back on, you're going to have the thing that goes beneath the drive cone, such as this. I'm going to use the stock one for example, so we're going to stick this on here, and you have to pay very close attention to which way this goes. In the case of this spring, you want the lower one. If the notch were on the left side, you want the lower spring first before the higher spring. And what that'll do is, once you take the drive cone and push that little notch over there and get the spring over it, it'll allow it to wind correctly. Now if you didn't do that, it wouldn't be feeding correctly, because you want it to wind clockwise and unwind counterclockwise. So let's give a good example here, and let's put it on. So there's a notch right here. As you can see, the notch is right there. And here's the tricky part, is once you get it over this, slowly lift it up and push it over. Then it'll wind correctly. As you can see, it's winding clockwise and releasing counterclockwise. And what that will do is it'll load the balls in here while you drive this, and therefore it'll just keep a ball stack of those balls indexed right here. Now, if you were to use a non-stock cone, such as an aftermarket one, that's where the fun begins, because you have no clue what is under that. So say we use this one, and let's take the notch over here. In order to get this down here, we're actually going to take this cone here, and again we're gonna be doing this exact same thing. You see the notch on this one is a stainless steel one, so make sure we start it far away enough, and you're just gonna have to imagine what's down there. Just kind of feel for it. You do it very slowly. It might take a lot of practice, but you'll eventually get it, and like that. As you can see, I've gotten it here. From here, you probably want to reinstall the the screw that goes on top. In my case, the cone's actually a little out of tolerance, so wobbles, and you don't want wobbling because that'll actually change the dimension of the ball stack. I mean the feeding tube while the Halo runs, and you don't want that because then it might jam or it might misfeed or something really bad. So in my case, I actually have to use a washer to hold mine in. If yours does have inconsistencies, you might want to fix that. But if it doesn't wobble too much, that's good. The next thing you want to do is you want to take the thing that goes on top, place it back on. Make sure there's no dirty stuff on here. And we're going to place it back on here. Now you have to notice the directions here. That little notch over here goes into that hole while the edge of this goes around here. So those screw holes line up. Now another thing that we're going to have to do here is we're going to install the eyes, which in this case are still sitting over here. And it really doesn't matter too much which one goes first, but most people by convention actually like to put the orange one towards the inside and the blue one towards the outside. So it's always good to have tape holding these in because you don't want your eyes to get misaligned or moved out of place. So once you have them in place, just take some tape and secure them down so they don't move, as seen here. So the next thing you want to do is probably secure this raceway here, like so, and place the, well, I don't have the screw here, but you should put that one in too. But next thing you want to do is put in the anti-jam spring. You can actually rotate it to whatever dimension you want, but usually I only like to leave 1 or 2 coils on the outside, or else you'll have a hard time putting this thing back into your shell. So we get this thing back on here, like so. We should put the anti-jam beads. It's really important to have these anti-jam spring and beads because the Halo wasn't designed to feed with jams. So that if you do lose these, try to replace them as soon as possible because over time those jams will start to hurt your motor, and eventually you'll have motor failure, and you really don't want that. The next step you want to do here is probably place it back into your Halo. Well, you might want to actually align the eyes here under tape. You should probably always keep these things taped down because you don't want these things moving. When you place a shell on, you might pinch a wire. If you notice, the motor wires actually go under the raceway here. So you want to go around this, and the batteries go out here. So let's reinstall the board. And one thing to note here is the best way to remember to install these correctly is to always have those gold things sticking up while you install the board. Remember, the batteries on the right side and the eyes are on the left side, as you can see here. Should the eyes on the left side. Now, when you reinstall this back into the Halo, you want to make sure that you have everything in place. And if you see there are these notches here, right here and here, that'll fit into these holes right here and here. So you grab your back plate over here and stick this back on. The best way I find to fit this back on is to first get this secured. Then you can just kind of push this thing in and it'll lock, you see. And this has to be basically perfectly smooth. You don't want it to jut out because then when you put the other shell on, it won't fit right and you might break something by trying to push it together. Then you can put the board back in, but you make sure you put them in together, and you should try to get it as close to this wall as possible. When you get it there, you just kind of stick in, so now it should move out. The next step is you probably want to put your lid back on. Always have it on one side before you install it. So let's take this right here and let's move it onto this side here. Make sure this tape is on here. And one thing to note, try not to pinch these wires. A lot of people do it. Best way to do it is to either have something obstructing it to not let it get pinched in between here, or just to find a way to get it settled in there as so. So when you put the other side of the shell back on, the first thing you want to align are these two back parts. Try to make sure that back plate lines up first, as so, and then you want to align the lid, which is not as easy as it looks, but there we go. And then they should just close pretty easily, and as you notice, I haven't pinched the wires, they're not pinched, so that's always a good thing. Close the top of the lid, this will actually hold it together while you put the rest of it back in. So once you close up the top of this, start installing the screws sequentially. The big ones usually go in the back if you just use common sense. So here's my screwdriver. There we go. So now when we install this back together, all we have to do is put the screws in, and that'll work in Halo again. There you go.